This is Frank J. Avella with Awards Daily. I'm so pleased to have the amazing Sterling K. Brown with me to discuss American fiction. Welcome, Sterling.
Thanks a lot, Frank. How you doing this morning?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here to talk to you about this wonderful film that I'm privileged to be a part of.
And such a terrific performance. Tell me about your reaction when you first read the script.
I think this is one of the best scripts I've ever read. It was, how can I be a part of it? This is the type of story that I've been sort of longing to see in the world that has people of color populating it, that's not necessarily meant just for that population, that has a universal story with universal appeal. I loved the humor. I love the pathos. I love the way in which the tone was able to meld two things together that you wouldn't think that necessarily went together, but sort of set each other up in a really lovely way.
It really, really well put. And the film keenly explores this idea of liberal America wanting to expect certain, black stories to fit the victim narrative, all the
Yeah.
while showing us a different kind of black family, which I think is pretty sly.
Thank you very much. It's a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The satire, you get people laughing, and then you actually at the same time show them an example of life that we don't always get to see on screen that is just as human, just as connected as anything else. It's not to the exclusion of those other stories. I want to make that clear. That stories that take place during times of slavery inside the inner city, all valid stories, but they are not the totality of the Black experience. And so getting a larger swath of representation is what we're looking for.
Well, I think you certainly achieve it. I love Cliff so much. He's not your typical gay, not your typical black character. He's
Yeah,
he's really messed up the way most people are. Can you talk about diving into his world?
I think so. Listen, in terms of it, I don't know what the typical gay is. And I think it would have been very a bad choice for me to go for typical gay, whatever that would include. I saw a man who was in the midst of a crisis, who had sort of not been allowed to live his most authentic truth for the majority of his life, and was at a place where it was no longer something that he could maintain, and that he had to search for a full and free expression of himself. And so when you find him, things are messy. He's sort of coloring outside of the lines for a while until he can find his new equilibrium. But he is intentional on not being told how he should live his life, because I think he's listened either self-imposed or otherwise societal rules telling him this is how he should be. And he's like, F that, this is how I am. And so that was sort of the joy of playing him, and also sort of being the foil for Monk. I think for a lot of my career, I'm asked to be the person who is in control or kind of holds things together. And now I'm the person who like somebody else has to deal with. That's a lot. It's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with Cliff.
I love the line, "This family will break your heart."
Yeah,
That line kind of broke my heart. I think it sums up the family on screen, and honestly, it sums up most families.
it does. Like I think first and foremost, parents tend to see their children at a sort of fixed state, and it takes a real maturity for parents' perceptions of their children to grow with them as their children become adults. And sometimes when you go home, you feel like you have to fit into this box of how mom remembered you at 16 or 12 or 8, what have you. And you're like, I'm a grown ass man who has feelings and thoughts and opinions, and you have to respect me as a grown ass man. Cliff's case, as a grown ass gay man, right? And so you come back to this place and you think that like maybe you've reached a place where people will see you and appreciate you for you. And somebody says something or somebody does something that reminds you that like, no, I still can't be who I wish to be in this environment.
You have that lovely moment with the great Leslie Uggams
The
where,
great, the stupendous,
yes,
she's
God.
incredible.
Uh, and then that thing happens. I don't want to give too much away, but I thought it was just an extraordinary, where you're so human that you have to react the way you reacted.
Thank you, man. Like it is. And I think he carries a lot of baggage with regards to how he was raised and his childhood and his acceptance vis-a-vis his brother and sisters. And so you're finding Cliff in a moment of grace for his mother as she's becoming older, losing her own independence, and is sort of frustrated by the fact that now she has to be taken care of when she's the person who's been taking care of people for so long. So he wants to just show her some love. And in the midst of showing her that love, she says something to him that just cuts to the core and makes him wonder, like, what's the point? Like, even when I present the best version of myself to you, you still don't love me the way that I need to be loved. So he's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so real. Oh my God. And you and yeah, great chemistry with Jeffrey Wright. We felt that brotherly antagonism, but also the love.
That's listen. They're not the opposite of each other, right? I think apathy is the opposite of love, like just not caring.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be in relationship with someone. I think at the beginning of the movie, you find out that these brothers have not really been in each other's lives for a long time. Then something happens at home that sort of brings them back together. And you see them sort of finding their way back into each other's lives. And it goes like this, up, down, up, down. But I think because there is ultimately love that undergirds everything else, the brattiness and the petulance and the frustration on my part, like he recognizes that in his brother there is a good soul if and when he's willing to share that soul with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to tell you, and it's a tribute to you. Every time Cliff wasn't on screen, I missed him. I wanted him back, and that's no diss to Monk.
Yeah, no, not at all. I appreciate that. I think Cliff, not often am I asked to sort of bring a little bit of the yucks to the screen. Like I'm normally the person that's making everybody cry or whatnot, but Cliff got a chance to bring some levity and light to the family story, and that was a joy. So it's always good to be missed, Frank. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about your process in working with Cord on creating the character?
Let's see. I mean, listen, this is a first-time director who there's so much that's on a director's plate, especially on the first time. A set is a chaotic sort of space sometimes. You got 12 hours, everything's real casual for like the first 9, and then at 3 hours, the first AD is like, we got about 15 setups that we got to get to, and so things start to go a little bit crazier. I think he trusted his actors to come prepared. I think the greatest thing that you can give to a director is a point of view and a strong choice. Because if you come in sort of bland, they don't really have anything to shape. So I came in with a strong perspective and point of view. And most times he'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, keep going. We had a couple of conversations about Cliff in terms of exploring his own intimacy and his comfort with intimacy. And I was like, look, Cliff is out to have some fun. So you can't come across too chaste, right? Like we can show a little bit, but I want the audience's imaginations like Cliff is about knocking boots right now. So as long as I don't have to like erase that aspect of the character, because that's like most people after a divorce are going to have some fun before they settle back into whatever it is that they're looking for next. And that's where you find in Cliff. So few conversations, but really just great freedom that he gave me to play and explore, and he encouraged me. So I thank him for giving me that environment.
Well, and speaking to that in the wedding moment where
Yeah.
your two friends are also there, that spoke volumes to exactly what you were just talking about.
Oh yeah, bro. Like, look, Cliff. Some people may call him a hot mess. I call him a man in exploration of himself, right? But like, I think you have to go through some things in order to find the new you, right? Like it's not a clean and easy process. And I think what I like about Cliff is that he knows that.
Mm.
Like he knows that this is not how he's going to be for the rest of his life, but he has to go through it in order to find whatever is on the other side. He gives himself freely that permission. And I think that's a good thing.
I do too. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Um, How are you, Sterling? How are you handling all this awards buzz?
I listen, I don't know. I tell you what I know. I'm handling it by saying I love this film, right? And I love Cord and the opportunity that he gave us as actors to play in this sandbox. I think the movie is deserving of whatever comes its way. I feel like this screenplay that he adapted from Percival Everett's novel is exceptionally worthy of anything that comes its way. And as a longtime fan of J. Free Wright, and having an opportunity to hold down the center of this wonderful film with a masterful performance, I think he deserves anything that comes his way. And besides that, I'm just happy to talk about the movie, to spend time with my cast, because you only get a chance to act with a few people when you're on set. It's actually when you promote it that you get a chance to actually spend real quality time with the Tracee Ellis Rosses and the Erica Alexanders and the Leslie Uggams and the Brodies and the John Ortizes. So like, I'm just sort of really relishing the opportunity to be around people whose work I love. I'll leave it at that.
I love it. I love it. I have to tell you, I loved your stint on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I mean, Reggie, uh, wow. And it was an interesting exploration that you were part of. You weren't the
Yeah.
main of another gay character in a different time.
Completely and totally like that. First of all, thank you. I appreciate it. Reggie, and sort of like the curmudgeonness of him and sort of the level of protection that goes into how he had to deal with his friend Shy and protecting his secret. Because at that time, there is no there's no room for acceptance of an alternative lifestyle if you want to be consumed by the mainstream media as a sex symbol or anything else, right?
Yeah.
So when Midge does what she does on that stage, it's nuclear, right? And she thinks it's just fun for the sake of fun and telling jokes to tell jokes, but outing someone, my goodness, like I think it's probably one of the most inexcusable things that you can still do today. Like you have to give people permission to come to that decision and to share that truth with the world in their own time. And to do anything that sort of like even pokes fun at that, I think is not as funny as she realized. And I think as a young comedian, once she saw the repercussions of her actions, like she didn't know,
Yeah.
but she had to learn, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so well done. Sterling, my last question to you. You've done your share of theater.
Yeah.
I want to know if you miss it. We miss you in New York. When are you coming back?
I miss you guys too, brother. And I want to come back sooner rather than later. Like it really is about an 8-year-old boy named Amari and a 12-year-old boy named Andrew, who I love so much. And coming to do the theater means about 5 months away from those fellas. And so I have to find the right project, hopefully that has like a little bit of time slated in for them to come and hang out with me. That really that becomes undeniable because the stage is calling. I want to do it. It's just a matter of time before I find the right thing. So you and I both, we shall be reunited.
That sounds wonderful. Can't wait. I can't wait. And thank you for taking the time out to chat about the film. It's a fantastic performance.
Pleasure's mine, man. Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.